Hey there. Thank you for joining me, Stanley, on this Saturday. We are now to the question and answer part of our series on postmodernism. So there was a whole bunch that I've discussed about postmodernism and how it can help us approach the truth, especially in our world today where there are so many different opinions and everyone says that their opinion is true. And how can we try to weed through all of these to figure out what the truth actually is? I think postmodernism can be a huge help. It can help us understand a little bit more about where we come from. And I received this message early on in our series. I brought up fairly early in our series the metaphor that postmodernism has of blind people reaching out to touch an elephant. One of them touches a trunk, and that's a snake. One of them touches a tail, and that's like a broom or some kind of duster. One of them touches a leg and thinks it's at the trunk of a tree. One of them touches the side and thinks it's a rock wall. And all of them are touching an elephant, but from their limited perspectives, they are all trying to point to what they think is actually there. And I said that this can be where a lot of us are at because we are limited in our understanding. Like the people who are blind, they're limited in their understanding. They don't have full access to the truth. And so they're naming the truth that as they perceive it. And I drew this connection to different Christian denominations. And my friend said he really appreciated the comparison of the blind men touching different parts of the elephant with Catholics, Baptists, Calvinists, Methodists, etc. All of them seem to be reaching towards the same truth. I do believe that is largely what differentiates Christian denominations, even Catholics and like the Orthodox, who are very different from our normal Protestant understandings. I think that what differentiates them is that they're all using their own different perspectives on who God is and on what the Bible says to try to reach toward that same truth. My friend then went on, how or where do you place a barrier between Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists? My friend said that Jesus isn't allowed because Jesus is the personal trunk or tail or leg. Then my friend said, hope you're doing well. I enjoyed the video. And I responded back because I disagree about the comment about Jesus. If we look at all religions as just theologies, just theoretical thoughts about who God is, or as just moral codes, in that case, you'd be right. And because of the way that we often discuss religions, that becomes the case. And so the Muslim moral code comes from their understanding of who God is and their beliefs of the truth, and the Jehovah's Witness moral code or Mormon moral code, which kind of points toward Christianity, but they are distinct, and we will get to why that is definitely the case in just a moment. But their moral codes point to their understanding of who God is, and the Christian moral code points to their understanding of who God is, and Buddhism and Hinduism and even then atheism. All of them would just be kind of saying, well, we all have this kind of moral idea from our own experiences, and that influences who God is, and that all kind of is just your perspective. The reason that becomes a problem is that even within my understanding of postmodernism, there are facts. There are scientific facts. There are historical facts. There are things that aren't left to perspective. So when you have the blind people all attempting to figure out what an elephant is, and they're all naming their own opinions based on different parts of the elephant, there is still a fact in that story that all of them are wrong because they're all touching an elephant. And they're doing their best to try to figure out what the elephant is based on the parts of the elephant that they're touching. And if humanity was just left to our own reason, if all we had was the Enlightenment, going at it with our own reason, then postmodernism would be correct in saying it's all relative, none of it is the objective truth. But Christianity claims that that's not the case. And actually, not just Christianity, but Christianity and Judaism and Islam and Mormonism, and to an extent Jehovah's Witnesses with how they break from Christianity, will all say no, they are basing their beliefs on historical events. Judaism bases their beliefs on the historical events of the Old Testament, and for Jews who do not accept that Jesus is the Messiah, on that historical belief that Jesus was not the fulfillment of messianic prophecy. Christians say Jesus is the Messiah and bases that belief on a single historical event, that Jesus was a Jew in the Middle East around when we kind of date 0, and that around AD 30, Jesus was crucified on a Roman cross, and then Jesus bodily resurrected from the dead. And that is where Christianity breaks from Judaism. Islam breaks from Judaism and Christianity, saying that they've corrupted the message that God tried to give them. They follow Ishmael as the actual heir to Abraham, and they believe that they are representing the God of Abraham correctly, where other religions don't. And they also disagree about Jesus. Jehovah's Witnesses would also have a disagreement about Jesus. Mormons would have a disagreement about Jesus. But because, as a Christian, Jesus is based in what I claim is a historical fact, I can say, no, Jesus isn't kind of a trunk or a tail or a leg. Jesus is the elephant. And this actually comes from the New Testament itself. Paul in 1 Corinthians 15 says that if Jesus did not rise from the dead, the Christian hope is in vain. It's all pointless. It all falls apart. But Paul says, but Jesus did in fact rise from the dead. And Paul said, hey, look, the original apostles saw it. We know Peter saw it. We know that Jesus appeared to, in 1 Corinthians 15, Jesus says, or in 1 Corinthians 15, Paul says that Jesus appeared to 500 believers at one time, most of whom were alive, although some had died. Paul's saying, hey, look, there is historical evidence that this happened, and as Christians, there's historical evidence that this could have happened outside of just the Gospels. There are non-Christian writings that argue that Jesus was crucified. There are historians from that time period who were Jewish or who were Roman who refer to a Jesus who was crucified by the Romans, and then the followers began to say that he was actually alive, and that is what Christianity kind of bases itself on. And so when we look at claims, there is the claim that all of this bases itself on. So Mormonism will base itself on the claim that in history there were Jews that came to the United States before it was colonized, and that this group of people then had Jesus come and appear to them, and that's the basis of the Book of Mormon. And history has looked at that and said, I can't find any evidence of it. And there's not much historically to lay claim to Joseph Smith being this great founder. History, when you look at a lot of these kind of belief systems, there's like is this true from a historical perspective, or does it make historical claims? Does this make claims not just to like a moral truth, but to actual facts? Or does this just make those kind of general truth claims? To the point that Christianity makes those kind of moral claims, those truth claims that are much more general, then Christians can also gain insight from other religions. And I know of a lot of Christians who argue it's very helpful to look at Judaism, to look at Islam, to look at Buddhism, to look at Hinduism for other ways of understanding the claims of Christianity. But to throw out Jesus, as my friend suggested, because Jesus is just the trunk, that Jesus is just my kind of subjective idea, that I have to say that's kind of where that thought begins to go wrong. We can say that how you then work out these truth claims that Jesus died, Jesus rose again, so how those get worked out through the different religions that accept that, and then maybe trying to gain some clarity about that from our cultural trappings that are so Western and so Protestant. I'm all for that, and I think that looking at other religions and how those cultures have developed, and then how they might help us gain more of an understanding that still has to align with that truth. I'm all for that. However, Jesus isn't just the trunk or the leg or the tail. Jesus in Christianity is the elephant itself. Jesus is the true fact of what is actually real, because Jesus is a historical fact. That's how, as a Christian, I would look at that and how I would draw that distinction. Not that that's I don't know if that's the only way to do it. However, that is definitely, from someone who's looking at kind of combining postmodernism and modernism together, that's how I would do it. We can't, 1 + 1 still equals 2, whether you're a postmodernist or whether you're a modernist. And that kind of fact for the Christian is that Jesus rose from the dead, and everything else centers on that fact. So I hope that was helpful. Again, if you have questions, if you have comments, I'm going to be looking through those here soon, making up more of these question and answer videos. Feel free to put those in. I'm so grateful for the comments, for the feedback. I really hope that these do get you thinking. If this video comes out and you're like, I'm really not sure, I feel like he lost his train of thought, go ahead and let me know, and I'll try to straighten some of that out. But thank you for joining me on this Saturday. I hope I gave you something to think about for the rest of the weekend. God bless you guys. Bye.